Hello and welcome to the Blue Shadow Podcast. My name is Joey.
I am Dan.
And today we are going to be giving a quick overview of our thoughts on the series, Season 1 of The Acolyte. We've given our long-winded, very, very long-winded thoughts on each individual episode. So now we want to kind of fire a few things back at each other to see what we thought about the entire season.
Yes.
So I want to start with our overall thoughts on the series. Very quick. Just, one word. What did you think of the series?
Different. If I'm allowed a
you
second
can, you
word.
can say more. You could say more.
Refreshing. It was. I liked seeing stuff from the dark side perspective. We know my favorite character, Count Dooku. I like seeing the cool stuff. It was really cool. I like the gritty. You like the lightsabers. This is a perfect marriage of it.
I agree. Cool. As the show did so many cool things.
You've heard of the rule of two. Star Wars lives by the rule of cool.
It does.
This thrived.
For me, I loved it. If I were to give my one word, it was just engaging.
It was.
Both the story itself, week to week talking about it. I haven't watched a show in a while where I was like, oh my God, everyone is really invested in it. And I loved a lot of the Disney Plus series, especially Ahsoka. But for me, this just felt so refreshing. It felt like the stakes were so high because there were not really any legacy characters involved.
Right. We knew the general endpoint was 100 years from now.
Mm-hmm. But
everything else was just, here you go.
So separated.
Run free.
That's our initial thoughts. We want to start with, based on internet conversations, there's been a lot of questions about, did the Acolyte break canon? There's been a lot of things. There's a Sith Lord. A Jedi knows about a Sith Lord. There's, Yoda's involved. Darth Plagueis is involved. Dan, I'm going to ask you very simply, did the Acolyte break canon?
No.
All right, thank you. That answers that question. Let's move on. I did want to talk a little bit about the hate surrounding the show, though. It didn't affect my enjoyment of it, but I could easily see a more passive viewer, and even people that I've talked about in my own personal life. I've heard, they'd say, oh, I've heard that's garbage. It bled out beyond the usual circle of Star Wars haters.
Yes.
And it makes me very sad because I think this is a particularly special Star Wars show. It's so new, so refreshing, like you said. Very different perspective. And I just wanted to talk about how much the hate angered me. There were times where I had to put my phone down because I was like, I can't. You're not even watching this.
Right. It's the people saying that its political agendas is driving Star Wars. No, it really wasn't.
Not at all.
If you want to be upset about a diverse cast, whatever.
No, and you can. I do want to say you can totally not like the Acolyte. You can think it was just okay. It's totally fine to not like something.
Yes, I want to I don't think I got that point across.
No, and I didn't either. So
you are free to not like it, but I don't want to be the criticism police, but if you're going to criticize something, have valid criticisms.
Yeah, you can't say it breaks canon when the piece of information that's breaking canon quotes is from a Legends book.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Not canon.
Not canon. You can't say you don't like this show because there aren't enough white men in it. Irrelevant. If you recast every character in the show with a white male and you like the story, then you probably shouldn't even be talking about the story online in the first place.
Right.
Anyway, that's a lot of actual real world things. But I kind of wanted to dive in now into the big ideas of the show. We've kind of, I think, been so wrapped up with the mystery and the intrigue of the show where, and the show's been a little more nuanced where when we did our Bad Batch reviews, at the end of every episode, it was what's the big Star Wars ideas? I kind of wrote down 4 of them. I want to do a quick little discussion of them and you can tell me what you think. I think the concept of miscommunication and the bridging between miscommunication and straight up lying. I think it's a cautionary tale about those two things.
Yes, I mean that bridge can be broken easily.
Oh God, you're going with this bridge again.
I thought it was clever.
No, it was good. I liked it. I just don't like it because it's poor soul. But yeah, no, I think from all angles, miscommunication from the Jedi with the witches, miscommunication within the Jedi. It's just every corner. It seemed like someone was not communicating properly or willingly.
Yes, intentionally or unintentionally not communicating properly.
That led to all of the disastrous things that happened in the show. Anything else to add on that?
No.
Cool.
Yeah, they just talked about it a little bit more. Torben not being a little brat.
Yes. And I understand Indara's decision to lie, or like to tell them to lie to protect Osha, but that could have solved, like, there's so many different things that could have solved this.
What would they have done? Just dropped her back off on Brenda?
I think they may have, reluctantly agreed to train her, and maybe she would have become a Jedi if they told her, because that clearly is part of the problem. So miscommunication is a big idea. Intention versus action is something that I have written down.
Yes.
So I think a lot of what the Jedi do in this show has good intentions, but the actual actions that they do are not great.
Mother Anastasia says, "Your noble intentions will be the death of you," and they were. She was speaking directly to Soul, right? Or was she talking to Torben? Soul. Pardon me for that. She was speaking to Soul, and guess what? They were the death of him in that same spot where she told him that.
Yeah. So again, tragedy, such a tragedy. But it, you think like Vernestra and her actions to cover everything up are to protect the Order, which I don't know that she sees the irony that she's essentially doing what Soul did, but on a bigger scale. It's like Indara's intentions to lie were good to protect Osha, but at the end of the day, all of these things roll together to make it. It's just, this again is a cautionary tale to ensure that your actions line up with your intentions.
Yes,
and have that same end result. And I think Star Wars is often like motivational in its messages, and I think a lot of the ideas here are more cautionary, where like hope is a common theme in Star Wars. This is like, here's what happens if you do the wrong thing, rather than let's do the right thing. Yes. And I think it's a fun take on Star Wars.
Yes, actions have consequences, and sometimes there's bad consequences.
Sometimes. So that's one. The ideals versus practice. So this again is a very similar thing to intention versus actions, but I want to really hammer home with this, the criticism of the Jedi. This is something that I've been very passionate about, is that the Jedi aren't the bad guys. The Jedi are flawed people that can make mistakes. But I think this line is showing where the Jedi can struggle. Last episode I talked about how like the Jedi have to make every single decision right always. And when they mess up, it can be bad.
I'm going to hop on my soapbox real quick.
Fire away, because you're stopping me from getting on mine, so please do.
Yes. I agree with your statement that, I'm sorry, I had something lined up. I saw the pitch coming and I was so focused on hitting the ball out of the park, I whiffed.
Jedi making right decisions.
That they make right decisions, and they're so focused on making the right decisions until they intentionally make wrong ones. And that's where my criticism with the Jedi comes in. For example, Venestra intentionally covering this stuff up.
Yes.
That is bad.
100%.
That is bad. And I'm not saying the Jedi are bad.
No, and that's what those actions, those series of actions like that, and becoming more walled off and not embracing your emotions, that's what leads to the downfall in the prequels.
Right. And it's there are some rash mistakes. For example, Soul making a quick decision mistakes is a lot different than in Venestra intentionally covering it up and making it a conspiracy. And again,
and that's where I think like Soul might gain a little more sympathy, because Soul is doing it, his intentions were to protect a little girl.
Yes.
Vernestra is trying to protect an institution.
Right, which is already flawed, as we've seen.
And I think that those two themes that I said sound very similar, but I wanted to kind of spend some time talking about the Jedi and the show's approach to them.
Yes.
And then the last big idea for me is letting your judgment be clouded by emotion.
Yeah.
That's a big Star Wars story. And I think as we like move forward with the Jedi, I think like the not having relationships and the rigidity with that kind of thing, I think that might not be present in, like, for example, Rey's Jedi Order or the far future of the Jedi. But I think this is showing like the danger of that, and how Soul's judgment being clouded by Osha, or his feelings about Osha, led to this downward spiral.
And it goes back to what the senator said. I'm blanking on it.
Rayancourt.
Rayancourt. You can't control emotions. That is the hardest thing to control. And the Jedi are so hell-bent on controlling the emotions of the people within the Order that every reaction, every time where somebody moves away from the emotions has a huge impact.
Mm-hmm.
Because they try and suppress it so much. So when somebody does show emotion, oh my gosh, they're pulling in from the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing anger. And it's like, no, you can't suppress anger completely. You can't suppress all these emotions. And I think that's what Rancourt was trying to say.
And I don't disagree with that. And I think, again, that's part of clearly what leads to Anakin. And that's what I hope, like, Luke's order clearly failed. That's its own set of issues we can talk about later. But I hope that moving forward in the Jedi, we've been challenging the Jedi a lot between The Last Jedi, the end of the Clone Wars. Jedi are challenged a lot these days. And I hope that we see the lessons learned there be put into practice in the future.
Yes.
That's that. So the next thing, those are our big ideas. I think this show leaves a very clear message. And like I said, the cautionary nature of the message is new for Star Wars, but I liked it a lot. You talked about like how I like the Jedi and the Force and that aspect of Star Wars. So Ahsoka was totally for me. You like the gritty, HBO style show.
I love HBO style shows. I love.
So you loved Andor. This truly felt to me, and we speculated this might be this, but a true marriage of the crazier side of Star Wars married with the grittiness.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if Andor had lightsabers, more or less. And I like that a lot.
Yes.
I was really happy with this. One thing I did want to talk about is the fight choreography.
Oh, so good.
We're not fight choreographers, but I did want to just say how much I loved it. Particularly episode 6. Episode 6, right? That's the one on Kofar?
5 into 6.
5 into 6, yeah. So the Chimera lightsaber fight, essentially both the lightsaber fights for me were like major highlights. But I also loved the hand-to-hand combat stuff too.
Oh, sweet.
This goes back to your comment of refreshing. I felt like everything was so unique. Chimera's lightsaber twists, Soul like pushing away the throne lightsaber. It just was all so refreshing.
And they weren't afraid to go after main characters.
I want to leave that. I want to leave that. We're going to come back to that. I do want to do a few like rapid fire questions.
Bring them. Where
my first one is favorite new characters. I'm going to do 2 each. You can start and then I'll go back.
I'll take the easy one, Chimera.
Okay. That was one of mine. We're not going to do double dip, so I'll have to come up with another one. Why?
He's so different. He's a dark side user who has personality.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot more so than we've seen in the past.
He's
kind of funny.
He reminds me of like if Kylo Ren was less emo and mentally damaged.
Yeah, he'll say something. It's like, that's kind of funny. I shouldn't find what he said funny.
It is so different from Palpatine. It's like the young spitting image that could draw. So like Palpatine draws you in with like power, and Chimera might draw Osha in with physical attraction and power. No,
Chimera and Palpatine are both very cunning individuals, but the way they go about it are different. Chimera is a much more down to earth, normal person who will pull you in because he's normal. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have this "I'm better than you, come join me."
No,
he's like,
let's go.
You want to go get food?
Let's go. You don't want to swim with me naked in the Sith pool? No?
Oh, look, a lightsaber.
Yeah, so for me, you know the answer. It's Soul.
Yes.
Flawed as he is, I loved Soul. He made a lot of mistakes in the past. We know that. But in the present day episodes, you can tell he was really shaped by that and is making the best decisions he can and learned from the mistakes that he had made.
Yeah.
Which I think learning from your mistakes and improving, that's a classical Star Wars thing. Mm-hmm. This is met with a little more tragedy, but he is moving past those mistakes and, trying to redeem himself.
Yes.
He has a lot of true Jedi, big Jedi moments where he's doing the right thing. A lot where he's not too. But I loved Soul. I thought he was fantastic. I'm drawn to the Jedi, and he was easily my favorite Jedi in this episode or in this series. Season.
Fair enough. That brings my second character to be. Do you want to take a guess who it is?
Yord.
It was Yord. I liked Yord. I thought Yord was the unintentional comic relief who really did have his head on straight, no pun intended, for most of the show. He was very by the book. He really tried to do what was correct at all times. Mm-hmm. He was what the Jedi are striving to be. And you can tell when he finally let his guard down a little bit. Mm-hmm. which is what we need. We don't need these rigid Jedi who are so adherent to the books. And I just liked him. I thought he was an interesting character.
I agree. And like against a less skilled opponent than Chimere, I think Yord going against the rules to go back and save them would have been like this triumphant moment.
Yeah.
So I was really hard on Yord at first.
I
like him. I do like him.
He was so good intentioned.
I know.
Well intentioned. Except when he called her a citizen.
He knew what he was doing.
He did. Him and Mace.
It's like I've mentioned before, if you're new to us, I'm in a PhD program. It's like if I left my PhD program, I think some people would be like, Master. Which in Star Wars is good. In the world of academic biology, it's also good, but some people have a distorted view of things. Anyway, this isn't academic biology, Shadow.
So, who is yours?
Mine, Chimere was going to be my second answer. But given that I needed... And it gives me an opportunity to talk about someone else I loved. You're not going to believe this.
Can I? Ooh.
Go ahead, guess.
Do I guess?
Go ahead, guess.
It's Finestra?
It's Indara.
I
was so hard on Indara, and I feel so guilty. She deserves to be one of my favorite characters. She makes so many Jedi decisions. She's so cool in her fighting. Indara was... When Indara died... Or after we learned more about Indara in episode 7, I was like, oh, I want more.
Well, they didn't make you care about her when she died.
No.
They almost made her seem like this elitist Jedi.
That made Osha leave the Order.
Right.
Seemed like a problem child.
Yeah.
But I know. So Indara.
I feel like Indara and Yord were friends.
I think they could have been. I like... This is totally unrelated, and we just leave it at this. I've seen people's like headcanon being that Ki-Adi-Mundi was Yord's master, and I love that idea.
Yeah.
So anyway, for our favorite new characters, Dan's were Chimere and Yord. Mine were Sol and Indara.
Honorable mention is Jackie.
She would have
been cool.
Poor Jackie. We're going to talk about this in a second.
Oh no.
I do want to ask, what do you think? Who do you think had the most standout acting performance? We're not by any means acting people, but was there anyone who spoke to you in the decisions they made as an actor or actress?
I know who you're going to say, so I'll go.
Thank you.
Again, Manny Jacinto.
I think I think if these two needed to be called out,
he played the role so well.
Mm-hmm.
Played a fantastic villain and did all of his own stunts, which really cool.
Yeah.
He's played funny before, and now he played this serious,
but also funny.
Yeah, he was good.
It was very nuanced.
He made you like him.
Agreed. And again, you shouldn't. And he didn't make you like him in the same way that you like Darth Vader or Kylo Ren or Darth Maul.
He made you almost root for him.
Exactly.
You're like, if he doesn't go slaughter this group of 5, I'd buy his poster.
Exactly. I still want to buy the helmet, but that's a whole other story.
If you can have a choice between the helmet or the lightsaber.
Lightsaber.
Cool.
My favorite collectible items are lightsabers, though. I have 2 helmets. I have way more lightsabers, so we'll leave it at that. The other thing, or for me, my turn, Lee Jung-jae.
Yes.
This man learned English to do this, and he knocked it out of the park. There were so many little moments, from like the tenderness with Osha when she came back. You could clearly see in the first few episodes how much he cared for her. Mm-hmm. The tragic parts of his character, from when he was being force choked to death, or when he had to go through like the emotions of like dealing with all his team dying.
Mm-hmm.
Little funny moments. Everything that he did here I loved, and I'm so sad he's not going to get to be a part of anything here in the future in the capacity of being like in the present day. Maybe we see flashback or something. But I thought Lee Jung-jae did an amazing job as Master Sol. Unsurprising, given that I just told you how much I love Sol.
Yes.
But I think Manny Jacinto and Lee Jung-jae are great. There wasn't an actor or actress that did poorly here. I think they all were wonderful.
I don't know. I didn't like the Pip voice actor.
Squeak, squeak. I like the Basil voice actor. Anyway, I think whoever was in the Basil suit was fantastic. Mm-hmm. The little like dance when he was trying to attack May. Anyway, is there anything that you thought didn't quite work out?
How so?
Is there something that bothered you? Something you might change?
That's tough. I mean, there's always something you could change about any show.
I agree. I have one thing I want to talk about.
You go ahead.
Episode count or length. I think the show could have benefited from giving us more time with these characters. Like, imagine we had, like, 5 episodes with Yord and Jackie. Imagine if we had, like, if this is like a traditional 24 episode TV show, if we had 10 with Yord and Jackie, it would be even more devastating.
Yeah.
And again, not that it needs to be that long. They would probably be what people would refer to as filler episodes.
Well, what the issue is, Disney Plus has struggled. One of the arguments of the Disney Plus Star Wars shows is that they don't feel like a show.
And Marvel.
They feel like a movie that's paused.
Yep. And I think the Acolyte did a little bit better.
They did enough.
Than Kenobi,
yes.
For example.
Kenobi, you could, if you cut the breaks out of Kenobi,
it's a movie.
You could watch that as a full movie.
100%. And we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
So we don't need to belabor it. But I just, that format for me, it's Andor got around it. Bad Batch gets around it. Mm-hmm. I think if there is another season of the show, I would like to see it increase.
Yes.
Did you have anything you wanted to talk about, or
no?
Good. We're keeping it positive. For me, my next thing and one of the last things I want to talk about is second season thoughts. Will it happen? I say yes.
It should.
I think
it should happen.
It generated a lot of buzz, and I think
for good or bad.
And I think there are a lot of people who are going to hear it and see it, and like the passive people who aren't tweeting about it. I think there's probably more people that enjoyed it that didn't. I have to say,
you really don't tweet or really do anything unless you really love something or you really hate something. Mm-hmm.
And I think we're seeing both of those.
But there's that group in the middle who may have enjoyed it. They just didn't care enough to tweet about it, or they may have been like, that's not for me.
Or they say it's not for me, and it's sorry, phone ring. They say it's not for me, and then it.
Don't go online and absolutely try and take a chainsaw to it.
Or, oh my God, that's Yoda. I'm watching the second season.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And I think that I
think enough people appreciate it for the coolness factor of it.
I agree.
And that alone, if you tell me there's going to be more lightsaber fights, there's going to be a couple Sith involved.
Yoda's here.
It's connecting to the characters that the casual Star Wars fans can know.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll really allow you to bridge the gap.
And this, for me, kind of positions season 2 as a story about Vernestra and May, maybe, against Ocean Chimere with like the legacy supervision of Yoda and Plagueis. Very captivating.
Get a little Sheev cameo.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, it should.
The birthday is not canon. The people lose.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I opened a can of worms.
I'd love to see it. I don't think it's time yet. If we skip time, I think it would be very cool to see.
Yeah.
But
Chimere.
One of the thing. Oh dear. One thing I did want to talk about here is the decision to kill off all of the main cast, especially as all of the main cast resonated so strongly with me. I feel like generally the relationship that fans made with these characters was stronger than in Rogue One, just mainly because of like the TV show.
You had more time with them.
Exactly. You had more time with them. You had time in between when you were spending time with them. For me, I would have loved to have seen one or two of them make it out, though I understand the strength of doing this and the story value of it.
It makes it more impactful.
And the stakes feel so high.
Right. Like, I will say, I like Game of Thrones. I know you haven't watched it. I don't think it's really your cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
They do a good job of making you care.
Mm-hmm.
And just when you think it's going to get to a lull, they're going to kill off somebody and make you care again.
I struggle, though, because I think
it wasn't gratuitous killing.
No, I know. But for me, we've talked about this before with like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. There are ways to tell an incredibly impactful story without killing off all your characters. And I don't think this show's doing... Like, this show isn't killing characters for killing characters' sake.
No, it's killing characters to show, to go back to your themes of that actions have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And Soul's actions, Indara's actions, Vernestra's actions, even Yord and Jackie, they all made decisions that influenced them. Jackie and Yord made decisions to... rash decisions to attack a Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Did not end well.
Without like pausing for a second and like really thinking about it. I agree with you. And I think just for me where I get just gently hung up on it is I loved Soul so much. And I think they could have stretched it out in a way where he was able to be in it more.
Soul had the most fitting death of all
I agree,
of them.
but could that have happened in the next season?
Soul got 8 episodes.
Could it have happened next season is my question. Maybe.
Anything could have happened next season.
Exactly. So that for me,
I want to say this. They wrote the show for there to not be a second season. And I love when shows do that.
I know.
I love when shows take the risk of knowing that they might not get renewed.
I know.
And they left it all on the table.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it kind of rubs up against me because I wanted more time with Soul. And typically Star Wars is more optimistic. So that's I don't dislike it at all. I understand the decisions. But that's part of why it rubs up for me a little bit. Is like, oh, man. I get why they did it, but I maybe would have liked to see something different.
That's fair.
All right. Need more Light Whip. That's something I have.
We're going to get that in a flashback.
I think we're going to get the flashback. We're going to get the present day. I think we're going to get more Light Whip.
I think the Light Whip's the end of Chimera.
I agree. So I have one last fun question for you. And this is kind of I haven't written anything down.
Uh-oh.
It's, which Acolyte characters do you think would be friends with other Star Wars characters in other Star Wars
Jackie
stories?
and Ahsoka.
Jackie and Ahsoka 100% would be friends.
Yours and Mace Windu.
Yes. Wow.
Soul and Qui-Gon.
Soul and Qui-Gon.
May and Osha. I'm just playing.
May and Osha. Oh, man. I think Rey and Jackie would be friends. I think, opposite to the question I just asked you, I think Kylo Ren would be incredibly annoyed by Chimera. I think he would say he's not taking it seriously enough.
It would, if there was a Chimera Kylo Ren show, it would play like an SNL skit.
Uh-huh.
You know how Matt the radar technician, Chimera would be the one just pushing buttons, and then being like, "Hey guys, that's Kylo Ren."
Yes, amazing. So yeah, that's my fun question. Anyone else?
Babu Frick and Basil.
That's a good one. I love Babu Frick. Their chaotic energies would match. If you haven't seen, check out the Star Wars TikTok. They did a Match My Freak TikTok with Babu Frick, and Basil matches his freak.
Last one.
Okay.
This was be the hot take.
Okay.
Mando and Vanestra. I feel like they'd get along.
Kind of a business. Everything's very transactional.
I think they'd respect the other one enough.
I agree. Yes, I think that's wonderful. So thank you for humoring me.
Do you have any?
I don't think I have any more. You kind of hit the nail right on the head.
I popped off. I thought about
this. You thought about it very quickly. I was very impressed with that.
I thought about this beforehand.
Alrighty then.
Didn't know it was a thing though.
Well, I'm happy to hear that you are enjoying your time. With that, we clearly love The Acolyte.
Yes, and if there's a second season, I will be the first in line to watch it.
Me too. I'll be right behind you.
I don't know what toys we're going to get from it.
Lego set.
Yes,
I want a Lego set.
If you guys have been following us on Twitter, Instagram, all that, Joey tweeted out something following the events of The Acolyte saying, "Where is the Lego set?" I agree. I'm going to ask you one more question. Quick question. If they can make one Acolyte Lego set, which one would it be?
Okay. Can I? Okay. I'm going to decide on one. I think, while I personally would want the battle on Brendok because I like the building, like Chimera and Soul. I think to get essentially every character, we could do the battle on Kofar in the forest.
It's a shame. That's my biggest complaint. I wish that battle took place on Brendok because, like you said, it's just so much cooler.
I know. And see, what's going to happen is they're going to make Soul's enormous gray ship. That's what they're going to make.
They're going to break it up. And they're going to do Chimera ship.
They're going to put...
If there's a ship, it's going to be Chimera.
They're going to put Chimera in a $3,000 set, and they're going to be like, you can get Basil for $20. No, they don't make sets for $20. Who are we
kidding?
They're
going to say Basil's the character that you get in the $3,000 set.
I'd buy it.
I know you
Maybe not 3,000, but anyway. Yeah, we love The Acolyte. Thank you if you listen to any of our coverage. We are still going to be kind of moving forward. Probably going to talk about Deadpool in the future. It's coming up. And then we have a lot of ideas how to discuss Star Wars and kind of keep the Star Wars discussion going, even though there's not a current show. But we will be covering Skeleton Crew in the fall.
Yes.
Winter, whenever that is.
Whenever.
But yeah. All right.
There's Lego sets for that.
There's already a Lego set for that. Where's The Acolyte? Stay tuned for that too. I also have made I've ordered the pieces to make my own Acolyte Lego set. So stay tuned, please.
Joey's been very proud of this one. He'll come up to me at work. He even said today when it's coming in, he's like, "Do you think this would be the better set?" So I'm very excited. You guys should be excited.
We'll make a video. It'll be like a real video too, not just like a podcast audio waveform thing. So anyway, yeah. Thank you so much for listening. Yes. We really appreciate it. Again, follow us. Give us a follow or subscription on your podcast platform of choice or YouTube, on Twitter at Blue Shadow Pod, or on Instagram at Blue Shadow Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.